I'm going to be refuting the claim that zero tolerance negatively affects schools. The advocate used an example in the beginning of a story of a kid who forgot that he had scissors in his backpack and ended up getting expelled. Well, regardless of what the kid, what kind of kid he is and what kind of student he is, schools still have to take precautions since there's actually no profile of what a violent kid would be. Any kid could snap at any minute, so any student could be a potential danger to the people around him. For example, that kid could have easily just grabbed the scissors from his backpack and stabbed somebody in the neck with it. So it's better to be safe than sorry. His secondary claims were zero tolerance increases disciplinary cases and expulsion. Zero tolerance is creating additional crime statistics. Zero tolerance policies in schools hurt the economy. Well, in response to the first claim of zero tolerance increases disciplinary cases and expulsion, he uses the evidence that minor misconduct now becomes a serious crime. While some minor misconduct is considered a serious crime, there is actual real reason for the kids to be dismissed from school. For example, Lisa Smith from Dallas, Texas was removed from school because she brought alcohol into school in a soda can. And she had every right to be removed from school because not only is she breaking the school's rules, it is also a case of possession of underage possession of alcohol. So there's actually, most of the time there's probable cause to remove students from school. Counterclaim would be zero tolerance is enforced to ensure the safety of students, provide a safe learning environment for students. His secondary claim was zero tolerance is creating additional crime statistics. His evidence was schools with zero tolerance policies on average had an arrest rate of 3.5 more times than schools who didn't have zero tolerance policies. Well, that's obvious because the schools with the zero tolerance policy has a system to catch kids, so obviously the rate would be higher, and no school has a perfect no crime rate. The reasoning challenges of this one is reasoning by generalization. The crimes occurring at school cannot even compare to that of its surroundings. Just because the school has a high crime rate does not necessarily mean the area surrounding it has a high crime rate. And the counterclaim was zero tolerance policies presenting a potential crime from occurring. The third secondary claim is zero tolerance policies hurt the economy. His evidence was students affected by the zero tolerance policies had their parents miss work and losing pay. Well, missing work and losing pay does not exactly affect the harm the economy in any way. It's just a few students, not like the whole nation is getting expelled and all parents have to miss work and lose pay. And then he used the evidence that many parents had to pay for legal representation for court-mandated penalties. Well, hiring a lawyer does not necessarily harm the economy either. Reasoning challenges claim is irrelevant, actually. There's no actual link to the economy. Well, there's no actual evidence linked to the economy, so it's a hasty generalization. Counterclaim is that the safety of children is more important than money. And overall, the zero tolerance policy was designed to reduce the likelihood of dangerous incidents on school grounds. It does not matter how good of a student a child is. If they are active participants at school with zero tolerance policy, each student is treated in the same way for breaking a rule while in school.
All right, the main claim is labeled. I think that then you talk about the first example. You kind of come up with this hypothetical argument that says, there's no way to profile a kid and potentially how dangerous they are. But it seems like you're making a claim that that a pair of scissors is more dangerous than a pencil that would be found in the classroom. I'm not sure that you've done anything except kind of give the rationalization that the administrations have without providing any evidence to show that it has has any benefit on that point. And I think that that's a little bit problematic. The secondary issues are labeled as you go through the speech, so that's relatively easy to follow. And I thought that you're pretty clear on where we are at any argument. Sometimes I think that you're going a little circular on some of the points. I'm not sure that anybody, for example, was the alcohol in the soda can one of the examples that the advocate used, or is it just an incident of somebody else being removed for school for a just reason? I'm not sure that the advocate would have disagreed that that's a just reason. In fact, they probably would have agreed. If it was the advocate's example, you need to point that out. I'm not sure how that one responds to the position that the advocate's taking on that first point. On the second point, you've basically kind of made this causality challenge here on the way they've used their evidence. I couldn't follow the first part of your argument. It seems like you were trying to make this claim that says, well, of course, that's because the schools are effective, and that's why the crime rates are higher because they arrest more people or something like that. It didn't make any sense to me, and I didn't think that it was very clear. Then there's another causality challenge. I thought that was a lot more reasonable. I think you need a better explanation on it. The third point, I think that you do, again, an okay job labeling the claim. This was a little bit clearer. Your counterclaims, there's not a lot of evidence on those points, but basically you're challenging the advocate's lack of evidence also, and you're pointing out that they don't demonstrate that there is a significant impact. It's a relatively small number of students. It's not like the parents lose their job for the day. I think it's interesting, hiring a lawyer. Hey, we're at least employing lawyers. Why didn't you say that? So if they take off time, well, they get paid less, but some lawyer's going to get paid as a consequence. Again, I don't think that's a good reason either way, but I think that it's a reasonable challenge to make on this economic argument. All right, so it's easy to follow. I think you needed to be a little bit stronger on the first 2 points and pretty solid on the third point. Thank you.